What up, what up? Welcome on in to Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we visit with Jacoby Walter, Charlie Melton, and King McClure, an all-star lineup as we get you ready for day number 1 of March Madness. All that and more coming up on the show. Don't forget, you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com and on our Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod. It's Thursday, March 21st, 2024. Justin Hoff alongside 2021 national champion Obim Okeke. We said it there at the top. Day 1 of March Madness. It gets underway in just a few hours.
Yeah, it's the most exciting time of the day. I remember I was a little kid, not a little kid, probably a high school kid, middle school kid. Used to be in class with the computer out. Probably would get in trouble, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. You got to finesse sometimes. And watching all the games, and I'd be on the West Coast time. So games start at 9 o'clock and end at like 7. So it was literally an all-day event. This is the best time of the year. Watching it, being a part of it, nothing like it. And there's no tournament in all sports that's really like it. So it's just a beautiful thing that March Madness is.
Any games that you got that you really, really want to watch today? Is there anyone that stands out where maybe there's an upset or something wild going on today?
I mean, personally, the first game of the day is always interesting. It's always like a 9 seed. So watching Michigan State versus Mississippi State, like that's interesting since like teams like that are always on the bubble. I would like to see how Oregon does versus South Carolina. That's interesting the way Oregon ended the season. I love watching Kentucky. So that game I'll probably watch. Gonzaga-McNeese, that's a big game, 12-5 matchup. That's going to be very exciting if you ask me. Funny enough, St. Peter's versus Tennessee, that's another funny game because St. Peter's did upset an SEC team as a 15 seed last time they were in the tournament. And then the last 2 games of the day, Kansas, no McCullough. Would like to see how they do against Sanford, former Baylor player on that team, Zach Loveday. And Washington State versus Drake. I watched Washington State last week when they were in the Pac-12. Drake's really good. And they've had a week rest. So it's like a rest versus it's kind of like a rest versus like if you keep playing thing, like rest versus rhythm game. I like to see how Drake does. I think Drake pulls off that upset. But yeah, those are my exciting games of the day, especially like the Nice bleeding into the Drake game. Those 2 games are going to be very exciting at the end of the slate.
TNT, True TV, CBS, and TBS. Those are the home to March Madness. That's where you can watch all the games. If you get like YouTube TV, you get that multi-view. You can watch all games at one time. That's what I do. And I think some of the early games are going to be a lot of fun. I love the early games. Also love the late games when some people have to hit the sack, so to speak, and go to sleep. I love being up when no one else is watching. And some of those games ending right around midnight Central, always fun. So we're looking forward to that. After the selection show on Sunday, we caught up with the Big 12 Freshman of the Year, Jacoby Walter.
Yeah, Jacoby, obviously a long season, coming off a national championship last year in high school. What have you learned about you and yourself and the team throughout this season so far?
For myself, I learned that it's always going to be ups and downs, but I just got to keep pushing forward, not focusing on the past and just really focus on what's coming up. And about the team, I figured out that, obviously I knew we were good coming into the season, but we've had our spurts where we look real good when we're playing offense and defense. So I really learned that when we're playing offense and defense, it's pretty hard to stop us. So we just need to really learn how to put together complete games.
Jacoby, this now is do or die, right? Survive and advance. Millions of people watch March Madness all the time. They say it's the best sporting event in the world, and to have the opportunity, just what's kind of going through your mind right now thinking about this and what the games are going to be like here this week?
I'm super excited. Just as a kid, you always watch March Madness and you just see all the craziness that happens. So now just to finally be a part of it and just to have this experience, I'm just super excited. I'm not too anxious or anything. I'm real relaxed. I'm just ready to play.
Yeah. Now that you're not playing Big 12 teams, feel like you see these teams for so long. Are you a little bit excited getting like new blood, fresh blood in the water?
No, for sure. Definitely. Big 12, every team is just, you see them so many times and you just see them and you play hard. And so now just to finally play someone else is it's really like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
How about John and Jalen? Those two have combined to play in 12 tournament games. How much will you guys lean on them for experience and advice?
Definitely a lot, especially with John winning the national championship. So he knows what it's like. He knows how every game's gonna go. He knows what to do. He knows what it looks like. And then with JB, real experienced, really good player. So just gonna take a lot of advice from them. We're gonna hear what they have to say. And during games when it gets hard, we're gonna lean on them just to help us keep our composure.
Yeah, I've said it all year. You guys look like you've never got too high, never got too low. And you have Ray J, who has played 160 plus college games, first time playing in the tournament also. What is it going to be like for you and him and Eve as starters getting your first experience in the NCAA tournament?
I think, speaking for them too, I think they're super excited too. I was just talking to Ray J. We were just saying we're getting in the gym tonight. Like, we're just ready to play. We're just real focused. With Eve too, I know this is his first time. He's been playing big. He just had a great game. So I think he's going to keep it rolling coming into the tournament. I definitely think when it comes to our first game, we're all going to be mentally prepared.
Thinking about these games, the scout, how important is that and just preparation, getting ready for these teams you've never seen or maybe even heard of?
No, scout's going to be a big part for real. That's probably when we're going to have to lock in the most, not even on the game. We're going to lock in with our preparation the most. And then when we get to the game, we're going to be pretty good. But especially we got Colgate first, so I've never watched him play. I don't know anything about him, so I'm gonna have to really lock in on the scout just to learn them more and watch a lot of film.
He is the Big 12 Freshman of the Year, Jacoby Walter. Man, it's been fun so far, and we're looking forward to March. Man, appreciate your time and good luck out there.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Jacoby, man, Big 12 Freshman of the Year. I mean, he's gonna be really important for the Bears. I know he's just a freshman, but he's gonna have to play well for the Baylor Bears to have success in March.
Yeah, and I mean, people might laugh at this, but he won a national championship last year in high school. That kind of stuff does matter. In my opinion, he's a winner. Obviously came by his winning culture to Baylor, and it's helped. I'm excited to see in his first tournament, his first tournament game. It's not easy for anybody to play in this type of situation, but I'm sure he's going to be up to the task. He's been playing well all season. I mean, he started the season off with a 28-point game against a number 4 seed SEC championship team. So that just shows you how good he is, and we've seen how great he is all season. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year in this tournament, and hopefully that helps everybody out. Him winning will help him out, his draft stock per se, and it'll help the team out. If the further they go, the better it is for everybody around us.
Follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today at BaylorPlus.com. Let's now welcome in former Baylor guard and current ESPN analyst King McClure. King, always exciting time of the year. First round of March Madness begins today. What are you most looking forward to this weekend?
Man, it's a very interesting tournament this year. I think that the way the committee seeded the teams, I think that's very interesting. I think some teams are underseeded. Some teams probably will seeded maybe a little too high. And also just like the 1 seeds. I'm interested to see how the 1 seeds fare out because, I don't know if this is the strongest set of 1 seeds that we've seen, but it should be interesting. I look forward to a lot of upsets.
King, with a guy like you have 6 tournament games under your belt. What is the advice you would give to these young Baylor players on how to approach the tournament?
Live in the moment, Don't think too far ahead. I know you start thinking, all right, Sweet 16, the Elite 8, Final 4 championship. Just take it one game at a time because you have to win that one game. I've been on the verge of, well, not on the verge. I've dealt with upsets in the tournament. The Yale Baylor matchup, the 12-5. I've also gotten to the Sweet 16 and then got blown out in Madison Square Garden. But taking one game at a time, that's how we viewed it. The year we had the most success, even our last year when it was me and you, Obim, playing against Syracuse. We knew we had the winner Gonzaga, probably Gonzaga the next matchup. But it wasn't one of those things where we were looking ahead. We had to take care of Syracuse first. And it's one game at a time, so it's a one-game season. Any loss that you have is going to end your season. So you have to be able to take it one game at a time.
Let's zero in on the West region. Of course, that's where the Baylor Bears are. First round matchup against Colgate. Second round could be Clemson or New Mexico. How do you see these first round matchups playing out here?
Hey, I got my bracket right here in front of me. Well, I think this Colgate team is no sleeper. I think it'll be a good first round test. I think Baylor should prevail. The next matchup though is where it could get a little dicey. New Mexico, when you look at their three guards in House, Dent, and Mashburn Jr., I mean those guys are electric. They're old, they're veterans, and they're hot right now. They're playing really well. They really do a good job of defending, getting to the lane, and able to create for each other, playing off of one another too. And they can maybe cause Baylor a few problems. So if there were to be any upset, it would be right there. But I do think that Baylor will beat New Mexico or Clemson. I'm picking New Mexico to beat Clemson, but I think that Baylor can handle New Mexico. But it won't be an easy game at all.
Yeah, and you were a 3 seed when we went to Sweet 16 in 2017.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does it feel being the higher seeded team in this type of environment when like all the fans are basically going for the other team?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's one of those things where you can't pay attention to outside noise because everybody wants to see an upset, right? When we played Yale that first year, we was in the 5-12, we were the 5 seed, and we were like the first game in the morning. So we were the first team that year to get upset. And everybody, everywhere we went, as far as walking to like different restaurants or anywhere we went, it was all on the television. Nobody wants to be a part of that upset or be that team that got upset and everybody's talking about it that day. So kind of like I said earlier, just living in the moment, one game at a time. It's not really a matter of like your seeding, like you're a higher seed. It's just a matter of, hey, we got to win this ball game. I don't care who we're playing. Too many upsets happen in these type of tournaments. So we just have to win this game and keep it rolling one game at a time.
Well, I'll say this much. Hey, no matter what you're picking in brackets, a lot of times you want to go with your heart, but in order to win the bracket, you got to go with your head. And so overall thoughts on this draw for the Bears and how far do you have this team going?
Yeah, I mean, that Arizona matchup in the Sweet 16 is where I might be choosing Arizona right there. I just think that Arizona has more of a complete team. I think that Baylor is good, but I mean, right there, it's a toss-up. So I would say either Sweet 16 or Elite 8. In the Elite 8 matchup, ideally playing against North Carolina. I want Baylor to go all the way. I mean, and me being a former Baylor Bear, I want them to go all the way. I would love to be in the Final Four and to go watch Baylor in the Final Four in the Elite 8. But it's going to be tough. I mean, playing against the Arizona team, who has a lot of guards, the backcourt is great when you look at Boswell and you look at Caleb Love. They have the inside presence and Ballo. I mean, that team is really complete. And they might have more weapons than Baylor does. And in North Carolina, potentially, one of the most complete teams in the country. When you look at R.J. Davis, you look at Mondo Baycott, Cormac, or even Harrison Ingram, a guy who I've been extremely impressed with. So for me, it's either the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 for the Baylor Bears.
Yeah, and if a potential Arizona matchup, I told Justin this earlier, would be in L.A., which would be basically a road game. Yeah, a road game. Yeah, so that's the reason why Arizona's probably favored in the West region. And they're also coming off a year where they lost as a 2 seed last year. So I think that also comes with them. But on top of talking about Baylor more a little bit, what do you think are the keys to success for them to handle these hopefully the first game, and then get out of the Memphis region and go all the way to LA?
Yeah, I think the two keys would be, or the two players that I would probably key on for this tournament would be Jay Nunn and Jalen Bridges. I think those two guys have to be huge for Baylor. I mean, when you look at Jay Nunn, he's had an up and down season. He's had games where he's looked really good, but he's also had games where he's looked not so good, where he hasn't been able to shoot. I mean, the one thing out of that dude, he's going to bring his defensive side. He's going to bring that defensive intensity every single game. But offensively, you need him to be able to contribute because I think the success, it's a good teams, or like success in March, comes from your backcourt. And you have to have guys who can go get you one, late shot clock guys, when without a play being called for them. Ray J. Dennis is known that he can do that. Jacoby Walters struggles at times with that, and he's not really a late shot clock guy, more of a catch and shoot, one dribble, two dribble, not really a lot of like a deep bag, so quote unquote. But I think Jay Nunn has the capabilities of being able to get you one off the bounce, create shots for his teammates, and just be able to really help you win games. So I think his contribution will be huge for Baylor's success. I mean, you look at Jalen Bridges, he's a glue guy, but he's also shown that he can score the ball as of late. He's been able to put the ball on the ground. He looks more comfortable doing that. His ability to shoot the three from deep. Those two guys have to be able to contribute and bring something to the table because you know what you're going to get from Ray J. You know that E. Misi is more so like a lob guy, a rim protector, not really a scorer, but he will score if Ray J sets him up to look good. But you got to get something out of Jalen Bridges and Jaden Nunn every single game moving forward.
Well, we know defense wins championships. King, you know I like offense. I loved your three ball. I'm thinking about Louisville and the dunk and all this stuff in the Bahamas, but defense is important. What do you like better, zone or man for this team? I'm guessing we'll see both, but which one you like better?
I'm a man-to-man guy. I used to hate playing that zone. Shout out to Scott Drew and wherever it comes from. But I hated playing that zone. I'll tell them to this day, I did not like that, especially being a guard position. At the guard position, it was horrible because you had to run back and forth, close out about 6 times in each possession. It honestly, we used to wear us out. However, I actually kind of like the zone for this team at times. I think that it kind of throws teams off a little bit. So I wouldn't go just straight zone, but I would mix it in the two. I'd probably go probably 75% man, 25% zone, just to give teams a different look and throw them off a little. I like that, but I'm a man-to-man type of guy. You got to get stops man-to-man. You really don't play zone in the next level, so you got to get stops man-to-man. But a lot of teams don't prepare for zone. So that's why I think it's good to have it in your arsenal to be able to throw teams off, but you got to go get stops man-to-man.
Yeah, we used to play way more zone. Especially your senior year, but you're the wing. You were the wing, so that was probably way better for you your senior year. That's funny. But for you, King, looking at this team, seeing the matchups that we've had, do you kind of get nervous at all since that we don't really shoot off the bounce that well, especially because like March is for the guards. Like we more like drive and kick more than like drive and shoot off the dribble, like a lot of other like say a Jalen House and them do as much. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of concerns me a little bit just from a standpoint of when you look at our national championship run, we had 3 guys who could literally go get it off the bounce whenever they wanted to. Like, and that's what you need. You need guys who can, isolation basketball is not what wins you games. What wins you games is when, all right, late shot clock. All right, players make plays. All right, can you go get by your defender? Can you get to the lane and have the versatility to either be able to score or make the right play and kick out? And I don't think that we have enough of that this year for this year's team. I think Ray J. Dennis is the one guy who has shown us he has that in his game. He has the versatility to either shoot the floater, shoot it off the dribble, or be able to get into the lane and create for others. I think Jay Nunn is a guy who can do it, but he hasn't done it enough in order for me to be like, yes, he is a guy, right? Outside of those 2 dudes, I don't know if we have, guys who can get it off the bounce, who can create, who can be able to score off the bounce, make plays. I don't know if we really have that. And it's kind of concerning just because, like I told you, like guards who can do that win games in the tournament. I mean, even look at when North Carolina won, Caleb Love and RJ Davis were off the bounce. They were getting it in any way you wanted it to because those were just high-level guards. And Armando Bacot was cleaning up everything. But I think good guards help you win. And I think our guards are good. Let's not get it twisted. Our guards are good, but their games are just not tailored towards creating off of the bounce.
Like shooting off the bounce is what I've said that. I agree with you. Yeah. It's more of a drive and kick team per se. And that's why we're so good at shooting threes more than like I'm gonna shoot the ball, contested 3 shot, and that's what King is getting at. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's make some more shots, right? Let's make some threes. We know this team, much of the season, has been one of the best 3-point shooting teams all year. So in order for Baylor to advance, you'd have to think that would stay true. Looking at your Final Four in your national champion, I haven't completed my bracket just yet, King, so I need your advice. Who should I take? What's the Final Four look like on your end?
Yeah, so my Final Four out of the East region, I have UConn coming out the East. I actually have North Carolina coming out the West. I have Kentucky coming out the South, and that's a very controversial pick because a lot of people say that they can't play defense, they don't guard, and I personally say they don't need to guard because they have like 4 guards. When we talk about getting it off the bounce, they got 4 guards who can literally score whenever they need to score, and I think that is that brings you success. And if they just play a slither of defense, you're gonna have to outscore them. They average 89 points per game. I don't think when you look at their bracket, I don't think Houston, I don't think Duke, I don't think Marquette can put up 90 plus and keep up with these guys when it comes to scoring. If they just buy in a little bit defensively, right? hold you to like 75 instead of 75 or even 80. Just hold you to 75 or 80 and not allow you to get to 90 or 100. Like, I think they can just outscore teams, especially if they get hot, and it'll be hard to really contain. I think they'll really like pick apart Houston because Houston's very aggressive. They won't let you run their sets, but I think those guards can get off the bounce. And in the Midwest, I got Tennessee. When you look at a guy like Dalton Connect, who is, if it wasn't for Zach Edey, would be the National Player of the Year. He's just a dude. I think he's that level of player to where he can propel his team to go to a Final Four. So I have those in my Final Four. I have UConn winning it all. It won't be as easy for UConn as it was last year. Last year, they just kind of like walked right up into the championship. But this year, when you look at who's in that bracket and who they potentially have to play, it'll be a hard road. But I think that they're the most complete team. They're the most balanced team in college basketball. And Tristan Newton doesn't get his flowers nearly enough, but that man right there is a bad boy. 15, 6, and 6. That is an impressive stat line at 6'6". And you look at Stephon Castle, who is probably a top 15 draft pick next year. I mean, UConn is complete. I said even talking about Klingon or Caravan. I mean, those guys got it rolling. And I think UConn will be a back-to-back champion.
I like the bracket. Definitely UConn's tough. Before I pass it off to Justin, I want to give a shout out to my guy King. Definitely, I think he was lost in like the culture of joy. I mean, I was in the midst of like the little transition, but King, I would say, is honestly the godfather of the culture of joy because, I mean, he was the senior when we had Jared Butler. He was like, a lot of people don't understand, like seniors could be really mean to freshmen for sure. And I think King did a great job of welcoming Makai when he transferred in, welcoming Jared, and letting him like blossom into the player that he became. I don't think if it's without King that the culture of joy exists, because I think King was like the first stand in that the culture of joy to make everybody feel welcome, and he was a happy guy, a nice guy. And so I want to shout out King on that note for being the godfather of culture of joy. For sure.
That's so sweet of him.
That's my guy, man.
Nah, for sure. I mean, when you look at it, bro, just my senior year, I kind of want things to be different because, like, the first 3 years there, I mean, we were talented, but I don't think we really had that culture of joy. Now, I just wanted to change the narrative and do things the right way to where, like, you know, we weren't the most talented team my senior year, but I can hands down say I had the most fun playing basketball my senior year, bro. Like, everybody in that locker room was extremely tight. We would always be joking. Obim is loud. He's loud as hell, right? So like, every time you walk in there, like, we're always cracking jokes. We're always laughing. And we just enjoyed being with each other. And I think that's why we had success. I mean, we went from being arguably the worst team in Baylor history to losing to Stephen F. Austin and Texas Southern to beat Syracuse, to beat Jim Boeheim in the first round. And honestly, we had, you know, a big, I mean, Freddie was just developing into Freddie, but we had like a just one decent big because Freddie Tristan got hurt that year. Freddie really wasn't Freddie yet. And they had Rui Hachimura and Brandon Clark. Honestly, we could have. we stayed in the game with these guys.
Yeah, we were in the game for sure.
And everybody picked us to lose first round and didn't have a chance to get blown out by Gonzaga, who had 4 NBA players, mind you, by the way. But, you know, I think it was the culture of joy that made us just band together and really just, you know, stick it out. So, I mean, I love it. I that's the one team. That was my most fun team that I've been on, and we had more fun. Even though we were probably the least talented team out of all 4 years, we had the most fun ever with that team.
Well, King McClure, always family, always Baylor family. And, man, we're just super proud. We've said it before with the work you're doing at ESPN and just love seeing you. And looking forward to seeing you at the Foster this summer, getting some shots up.
Oh, yeah. I'm there. I'm going to lose about 20 pounds. I'm about to go bust some people. For sure.
All right, man. We appreciate you. We'll have fun and good luck to your bracket.
Man, for sure. Appreciate y'all.
Love talking to my guy, King. I just think it's funny that, like, a lot of people don't realize that when we were in 2019 season, we were one of the first 4 out. So loved, and I was against this earlier, but like, after watching the first 4 games earlier this week, I think if you would give us a chance in the first 4 against another team like that, we would have had a chance to move on to the tournament. So I think expanding the tournament, honestly, was to 76 games and having 4 games on Tuesday and 4 games on Wednesday would be exciting for the tournament. And I think a lot of teams will be more into it. And I think that boosts up the tournament a little bit more. I know it's kind of trending into that direction. And I was a little against it, but I think that's honestly a good idea to have the tournament expand to 76 teams.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. A lot of times expansion happens, right? And in all sports, right? The NBA is talking about expansion. The NHL expanded. Obviously, a Vegas team out there where Obim's at. It's just natural in progression. You know, you look at college football, the playoff initially, obviously in BCS, it was 2, 4, 12, now maybe 14. So this has happened before, and we know what's out there. And it's probably, honestly, it's probably inevitable. And so when you think about it, going to 76, as O said, that's 4 games on a Tuesday, 4 games on a Wednesday. That essentially lets you have, 2 games at once in that early window on Tuesday night, 2 games in the late window. And why not? More basketball. And if you love college basketball, you want to see more games. And so, I think this year was a perfect year to see where the bubble was. And, let's not forget the Big 12. The Big 12 would benefit from this. And anything that helps the Big 12, I'm all about. And Coach Drew's about it, okay? Brett Yormark's about it. And so we'll see where it shakes out, but I could see definitely in the next couple of years going to 76. I think if they go to like 96, that might be too quick too soon. But there's about 360 teams in Division I. And so I think 76 could be really good. So we'll see where it shakes, but I'm a fan of more basketball. More basketball. Get me, like, these are appetizers, and I feel like we could have a little bigger serving of an appetizer before the real thing starts on Thursday.
And also, I have 2 notes on this. The first 4, as long as they have the first 4, it's like only teams that are at larges. I think that would help. I know like 16 seeds getting the tournament win. That's cool. I'm sure it has to do something with the money. I think that's cool. But like having it all at large teams, I think that'd be a cool idea. The transfer portal has helped even the playing field a lot too, I would say. That's why the bubble was so strong this year. Like, we never had a 10-seed bubble. So I think having the transfer portal make these teams a little bit more competitive, a little faster. I mean, McNeese went from 23 losses to literally 30 wins this year. So that just shows you, like, it's possible to do these things. And my last point, actually, is the fact that when you have these tournament games and you have all these guys watching, it's easier for the coaches to sell, the tournament has first 4, and it's easier to sell the point like, we got to win in the tournament for recruiting purposes than to say, we were just a 13 seed or a 14 seed or a 12 seed and we got thumped in the first round. I feel like it's easier for recruiting to say, we got a first round win. It is what it is. So, I mean, I think it's better for expansion. 96 games, 96 teams would be a little too much. But yeah, the first 4 teams have done well in the tournament. Also, they've been, I think every year, the first 4 has been something. A team has went to Sweet 16. So I'm all about it. First to 76, 96, too much, but 76 is
too
okay.
soon. Yeah, and I'll say this. 11 of the last 12 years, a first 4 team has went to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So it's an advantage, right? It's an advantage, and watch out for Texas because Colorado State, they've already got some of the nerves out, right?
Yeah.
And they're playing with house money, if you will, against Texas because no one thinks that they're going to win and they're not supposed to win. And so you go in there and that gives you an advantage. So I think it can be switched to that. What I would say though, is you could have more 16 seeds or those kind of games in there. And so right now there's 2 of them. You could easily do 4. You could do 4 of them. So you slide them down. I think it's good for those smaller programs to have a chance to say that they won an NCAA tournament game because it does count, right? First 4. So give them out that opportunity. And so essentially you have 8 teams that are, low majors. And then you have the other 8 that are, the bubble teams. And so I think that could really work. And the good piece here is if you did that, the 16 seeds would be a little bit stronger. And so, you know what I mean? Like you're getting a team that has already won a game. Like that's the 16 seed. They've already won 1 game. And so you're maybe thinning the plot a little bit there, which could bring a little bit more Cinderella as we've seen now a couple 16s beat a 1. And so that could be something to watch. And that's what you want, right? You want the Cinderellas to have fun. I think there's the tournament's great as is. And that's why some people are like, don't mess with great, right? And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I do think there's a little bit of seasoning here that you could make it just a little bit better if you did expand just a little bit more.
It went from 64 to 65 to 68. I mean, like you said, expansion is inevitable. I mean, college football playoff hasn't even done the 12-team playoff and went to 14. So, I mean, that should just tell you, like, a lot of these things, there's so much money being brought into these things. Sometimes it is inevitable. I'm just hoping that there's a strong bubble every year. So, like, it has its case. We don't need, like, no 16 and 16 Power 5 team to be in the first four. That's when it kind of gets ridiculous. But, yeah, I mean, if the college basketball keeps going the way it is, I'm not opposed to going to 76 games.
All right. Stay connected to Baylor Athletics like never before by signing up for the Baylor Brew today. It's the official daily newsletter of Baylor Athletics. We are now joined by the Director of Athletics Performance for men's basketball. He is Charlie Melton, the good friend. And Charlie, first off, appreciate your time. And we saw on Sunday, you get to head back home this week to Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes,
How
sir.
exciting is that for you?
Really excited. Mom, brothers, nieces, nephews, everybody's fired up. Go back and get some of that good pork barbecue. I know in Texas it's all about that brisket, but I come from the deep South. Pork barbecue, ribs, and shoulder.
I'll say this much, Charlie, I think a lot of our fans know you, but they maybe don't know enough about you. And, you've done some mic'd ups with us. You got to see you're a character, got a great personality, but 19th season at Baylor. And some people will ask, what's the secret to Baylor basketball and the success? And there's a lot of people, right? It's a team. It's an army of individuals from the GAs to all the coaches to Coach Drew. But I got to say, some of the secret sauce, or a lot of it, is looking at Charlie Melton and your work. How important is your job, your role to this team and to its success?
I appreciate that, Justin. I'm just blessed. God's given us a great platform at Baylor. With the culture of joy, I fit right in. I'm joyful, like to have a great time. Coach Drew's afforded me the latitude to, train these guys in the best way that fits our program. The nature of things have changed. We used to get guys 4 to 5 years, and that's where some of our great development came from. But, I'm out here at the barn right now, and I bring the same kind of blue-collar work ethic to the team. We clock in and get work done and have a great time, and what a great blessing to be there for that long.
Coach Charlie, that's my guy. If you guys don't understand, he was very instrumental in helping me get into more basketball shape when I came to football. And what people don't understand is, like, when you're doing basketball training, you can't just, like, beat up on these guys. And I think Coach Charlie does a really good job compared to, like, when you're playing football. You can just, like, hey, go at it for 2 hours, it seems like.
Right.
So, Coach Charlie, talking to you, how hard is it to get these guys, like, when you're on the road, to get these guys to be loose and ready for these games? Because you're not really doing strength training in a hotel. So talk about that experience, like, when you're on the road for the tournament.
And we try to get a lot of hay in the barn in the summer and have some reserves we can draw from throughout the season. We have to be really sensitive. If you do a big lift before a big practice, you might end up pushing the guys too hard. Fortunately, when we're in the deep part of the season with the travel, we're able to get some lifts at the house. We do some hotel work, but the name of the game on the road is recovery. We have, coming up now with the NCAAs, you've got that 1 day off transition between games, and it's about mobility, it's about their diet, it's about their sleep, their hydration. And I've learned over the years that I'm more than just the weight room. And coming from a football, track and field background back in the day, I had to make some adjustments and switch gears. And it's been a great learning experience.
These guys are like family to you, Charlie. You think about all the coaches and different things like that. Just what kind of relationship and how you spoke about it. It's joyful to come to work, but you got Coach Drew. I mean, the man is full of energy and always smiling and stuff. What's that like just to be around in this atmosphere, working with those guys day to day?
It's amazing. We play worship music for the warm-ups. We speak the name of Jesus. Obim can attest to this. We probably pray 4 or 5 times every practice. We're a prayer-led group, but we have a lot of fun. And sometimes my role on the staff is to be the big brother, the uncle. I don't determine playing time. I don't have any impact on recruiting in terms of negotiations or visits, but my role is kind of a at the house sheepdog. I take care of the guys. They have to be able to switch from, holding them accountable, pushing them to the limit at times, and then also joking with them and helping them relax. Sometimes you want people to be locked in the weight room and really focused. But what I found over time is if we're dancing in between sets and having, a lot of fun and laughing, the quality of work is so much better when people are joyful.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to the quality of work being joyful when it's more joyful. I used to talk a lot, and we used to joke around a lot when I was on the team, so that's for sure. Especially you talked about the transfer portal, and used to get guys for 4 or 5 years. So what's it been like, especially like developing like Eve and Josh and like these freshmen this past few years and seeing them grow? How has that process been for this team this season?
It's been interesting. It's been challenging. I mean, you bring up a great point. We used to get, long summers with guys and a lot of time in the fall. It's been a challenge with the international trips. Italy in 19, we just came back from France. We had Canada for the Global Jam. It's always a challenge to kind of fit the work in. So with Eve and Jacoby, we have to find 20 or 30-minute windows throughout the week that fits their class schedule where they can come in and get a quick development workout around the time they shoot with the GA or manager. And it's always just trying to give micro doses. We work off of a principle called minimal effective dosage. We're not dumping everything on them to see if they can handle it. Like Obim, you said, similar to football at times. What we're trying to do is be real strategic and real surgical and get those moments when they fit the student athlete schedule. We don't want to keep them up there all day. They've got lives too.
And you think about, just asked you about the freshmen, but there's another side to this. You think about a guy like Ray J. Dennis. He's had multiple strength coaches at colleges. Now, Charlie, you know this with me. I've never had a strength coach, and so you could teach me all that. I don't got any bad habits or different things, but different strength coaches teach differently. And so you get a guy that comes in who's had multiple. That's an adjustment, too, for a one-year guy who's been around a lot, right, too?
Yeah, 100%. You've got – some guys that come in with great technique that are really proficient with the lifts. You've got guys that have come from a program that maybe uses a different philosophy than we use. Fortunately, with the human body, there's a lot of ways to approach basketball performance. We don't necessarily have to do a full squat to get strong legs. We can use a leg press or a pitch shark or a kettlebell swing or a deadlift, and it's really me trying to find out what they're best at and set them up for success. Not fix so hard in a program that we can't be adaptable.
Yeah, and I love the adaptability, but I saw the games recently and still doing the same pregame warm-up, it seems like, forever.
Yes.
Talk about how that gets the guys ready for games and even in practice, that pregame warm-up.
I'm a big science nerd, graduate school, a lot of research, and bringing that science mind into this environment, in this arena. We take a real systematic approach to the human body. The sports change, but the human body is always the same. We start slow and simple and gradually move towards faster and more complicated. When this warm-up we're using, we do a lot of rolling and crawling and rocking. And what we're targeting in that moment is the vestibular system. And that's something I learned from Julie, my wife, pediatric physical therapist. We're just trying to get the brain booted up. It's almost getting the body booted up online and then ready to get into basketball movements. And we're real systematic, and Obim can attest to this, where we've got a big game on the line. I'm going to be really upset if the warm-up is not done properly. You better pull your toe on and on, but we have to focus in, and I'm the leadoff hitter for the team. We start with the warm up, and I've got to read their bodies and adjust during the warm up. I've got to read their mentality. If we're sluggish, I got to speed it up. If we're hype, I can dial it in a different direction. So it's an unbelievable job because every day is read and react.
Well, Charlie, you're national champion strength coach, of course, over the last 5 years. No Power 6 program has a better winning percentage than the Baylor Bears, 78%. 98.8% of games Baylor has won. Simply incredible. And one piece to this, Charlie, as you well know, we've been so good at the in-season tournaments, those games on back-to-back days. We've had tremendous success in the NCAA tournament. And so thinking about what's coming up this week, obviously you handle business, and the goal is to take care of business in the opening round, the first round. But you got a lot of work to do there, right, between the first game and that second game with a day off. What does that look like preparing the team after hopefully a win on Friday?
I'm blessed with a great support system. Dave Snyder, our athletic trainer, has massages set up Friday night already. Our dietitian, Corey Akins, is going to be with us, pushing the right replacement drinks, the right meal choices. We'll spend 20 to 30 minutes in the banquet hall with me doing mobility and recovery and just getting the bodies adjusted and trying to keep them off their feet, but keep their brain engaged. It's all about that turnaround.
One more question for you, Coach Charlie. In terms of like the guards and all this stuff, like the biggest compliment I remember you getting when we won the national championship was how big our guys were, how physically more imposing our guys are. And I definitely have seen that. But like just the development I've seen from just even our guards is a great testament to you. What would you say like the biggest compliment you've heard from the guys this season?
This season, we really had a rough stretch going through, TCU. It looked like they came out gangbusters. Texas Tech similar at the house, and we were able to weather that first half storm. And when all that energy started to die down in the second half for them, we were able to keep going. And it's availability is the best ability. And, we have to be great in the last half of the second half. It's a game of runs. And so we want to be anti-fragile. We want to be durable. We want to be able to, kind of weather whatever they're throwing at us and just be resilient. I think resiliency is a big part of our program.
Well, man, I'm fired up for Friday. I want to run through a brick wall right now around Charlie. I'll say this much. We say it a lot. But what makes Baylor special is the people, and nobody is better at their job in this athletic department than the guy we're looking at right there on the screen, Charlie Melton. Don't let all these compliments get to your head, okay?
Kind of you guys. I've got a lot of stuff to keep me humble, like all these horses. They don't care what I'm doing. They just want to be fed right now, so I got to get them in and get cracking. Just blessed to have another day, blessed to be at such a great institution for so long and work with great guys like Justin Hoff and Obim Okeke.
All right, Charlie. Well, really appreciate your time and have fun there in Memphis.
Appreciate
you guys. God bless. Sick 'em. Hoorah.
All right, Baylor taking on Colgate on Friday at 11:40 on True TV in Charlie Melton's hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. And Obim, we talked about this off air, but we like the fact that Baylor gets to watch games on Thursday, kind of take it all in, and then go out there on Friday the next day and hopefully deliver.
Yeah, King talked about earlier in his interview how they were like the first team to get upset. And so like everybody else is watching them. Like I feel like when you see a team, and I don't know the data on this, I feel like there's more upsets that happen on day one than two. But I mean, this is just me just going off of this. But like I feel like the first day there's way more nerves because you guys are the first ones. It's like when you take a test, shall I say, and you're the second class instead of the first class would be like, oh my God, there's all this, and this on the test. And the second test could kind of go like, oh, we can go prepare. That's kind of like how I see the second day, Friday. I mean, that could be a crazy analogy, but in my opinion, playing on Friday has its little benefits, honestly. And having that rest day, take it all in, you get to see all these teams get eliminated, and now you get to take in all their emotion. And I feel like your emotion goes down a little bit because you see other teams play. So, yeah, playing that game, and we'll be in probably a more Baylor favored crowd, not as much, but like Memphis is closer to us than other places, than other teams were playing. So I think that's also a benefit for us.
I love that analogy. That was spot on. That was great. Loved every minute of that, every second of that one. I think this game, Colgate out of the Patriot League, 25-9. They are 0-6 all time in the NCAA tournament. They have been there consecutively for now several years, and we know where Baylor's at. Obviously, a top 3 seed, the only school in the country that's done that for 4 consecutive NCAA tournaments. and this is the second game of the day. And so, yeah, you got to come out there. And I think the key here is a start, right? Let's come out. Let's get on fire. You don't want to give your opponent, especially a double-digit seed, any confidence. And if you get into, the 7-8 minute mark in the first half and it's tied up or they have a little bit of a lead, that's where suddenly they become a tougher team to put away.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. Definitely. And don't want to give them any hope, and the fans will be into it at that point. Like we've talked about so many times, like the 14th seed, everyone wants to see that upset. So, yeah, I could put them away a little bit early and weather the storm. They're going to go on a run. It's a game of runs. It is what it is, but you got to weather the storm. Also, like when you're the first game of the day in that region, so we're second game of the day, you get unlimited warm-up. So not going to be as many fans in the building to build up that hype early in the game. Like I will remember this when we played Syracuse, and we were the game after Gonzaga. There was a lot more excitement in the building, because everybody's in their seat. They've already been watching games. They watch Kansas. They watch Auburn almost get upset by New Mexico State. So, there's excitement in the building. So those fans are a little bit more rowdier, especially when your last game of the day. When your first game of the day, it's kind of easier to get into the game for a team, in my opinion, because you can bring your own energy. You don't need the energy of the crowd to really get it. You just, say you feed off your own team's energy instead of maybe the 14th seed getting a little bit more energy from the crowd.
Look for the freshman to have a big, big day. I'm expecting Jacoby Walter to play really, really well. You think about his collegiate debut against Auburn, 28 points, one of his best games of the season right away there. I think he's a big-time player in big games, and so I expect him to have a big day. And then also Yves Missi going against Colgate's front line. Colgate, Jeff Woodward, 6'11", 270, and Keegan Records, 6'10", 250. I think that, one, they're big, they're strong, but the one thing that Yves has is mobility and athleticism and quickness, and I think about that turn and rip at the free throw line and a dunk at the basket or alley-oops. He can just jump higher than these guys. Think a little bit Brandon Clark, about what it was like about 5-6 years ago for us, having to defend him in Salt Lake City. I think we can see a lot of lobs, a lot of dunks. I expect Yves and Jacoby to have big-time days in the debut in the tournament.
Yeah, and they're playing – Colgate probably has not seen the athleticism like Baylor has in a long, long time, maybe from even beginning of the season. So, that's probably part of the reason why Colgate has struggled in the tournament so many times the last 3 years, should I say. So, hopefully that athleticism can dominate them. They're more of a defensive team anyways, so hopefully we can get out and run against them. And yeah, like you said, Jacoby and Yves had them fresh legs. They're basically sophomores, like Coach Drew said earlier. So yeah, so hopefully we can get out and run, get out on them early, handle the turnovers and all that stuff. And hopefully it's a fun day on Friday.
And we'll look ahead to Sunday because O won't be with us. So let's go ahead and look at Sunday. Obviously, got to take care of business against Colgate, not overlooking them, but just simply looking ahead to that next game. And it'll either be Clemson or New Mexico. New Mexico is getting a lot of talk. A lot of people are picking New Mexico, said they were underseeded. And I want to say maybe 70, 80% of the country is going to probably pick New Mexico. We'll see where it lands. Clemson, they have a couple really good players. PJ Hall is their go-to guy, 19 points per game. Joe Girard, former Syracuse Orange player, transferred over after Jim Boeheim left. He's on this team, as is a couple other guys. And so obviously from the ACC and New Mexico, they have a lot of transfers, a lot of talent on this team. Jalen House, former Arizona State transfer, son of Eddie House. Jamal Mashburn Jr., son of Jamal Mashburn. Jamal Mashburn Jr., he came from Minnesota. Donovan Dent, JT Toppin, really good. This is a strong team. Who do you lean towards? You got Clemson or New Mexico here?
Yeah, I got New Mexico, not West Coast bias, but I watched them. Funny enough, I literally watched them in the Mountain West Championship game when they played San Diego State, and yeah, they're exciting. Their guards definitely can go get it. They have some toughness too. Don't get it wrong. They're a tough team. They like to get up and down. They've been playing for their lives, so they might be in that mode right now where they're playing with house money also. Kind of like when you win your conference tournament and you just get into a tournament, like they're playing with house money. They'll be playing a team, hopefully, in Baylor where they're expected to lose. So, why not? Why not go out there and play hard? Their guards are legit. They're really good guards. They're probably going to be playing the G League for a good amount of time or overseas. So they have good players. Clemson, PJ Hall is a monster. Joe Girard's really good too, but PJ Hall is legit. I remember when they played North Carolina early in the year, and Baycott was talking about, oh, the ACC runs through me, and then Clemson went there and beat them. So Clemson's good this year. Don't get it wrong. Like, I know they're a 6th seed, and people are talking about New Mexico, but Clemson's still a good team. I prefer to play Clemson. I feel like our style matches up better against Clemson than New Mexico, but PJ Hall is really good. He's going to be a force that we have to handle. Not better than Hunter Dickinson, but he's comparable to that, like Ladie and Deron Holmes from Dayton. So those guys, that's a good team. Both teams are good teams. Any team in the tournament is honestly a good team because they had to either have to win their conference tournament or be so good during the year that they're in the tournament. So it's going to be a good matchup. I would like to see New Mexico because I feel like we both will put up 80 points in that game. But, yeah, that's my analysis for those two teams.
Baylor, Colgate. Baylor is a 13.5-point favorite for that one. And then New Mexico, 2.5-point favorite over Clemson. All games played at the FedEx Forum where the Memphis Grizzlies play in Memphis, Tennessee. And, yeah, so if it's New Mexico versus Baylor on Sunday, we'll find out the game time probably late Friday. And if that's happening, that's going to be a tight game. That's going to be a tough game. I think New Mexico, when you watch them, they remind me a lot of TCU in terms of pace of play and liking to get out and run. They got some dogs in terms of that backcourt, some really tough guys, great genetics, as we said, former NBA vets out there. And Richard Pitino, he's a really strong coach. He's at Minnesota. So a lot of power 6 kind of feels on this team. And, this is going to be really interesting. I do think Baylor can hang on there and win, but I think it's going to be a bit of a nail-biter on Sunday and a good test for Baylor. And that's not bad, too, to have a good test early in the tournament, because if you can advance, those are the type of games that really kind of, give you skin on the wall where you're able to, overcome some other games. We think about the championship run and what we had to face against Villanova. It's that kind of game that propels you to further success.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you have the toughest schedule in the country. There's a reason why. Those games where all the Baylor fans were pulling their hair, it's for moments like this. Like, you can feel a little bit more confident in our team playing these tough matchups. And like you said, like Villanova, a lot of fans probably thought we were going to lose. We're down 11, down double digits, going to half. Like, Baylor's been down double digits. Baylor was down 17 to Houston at home on a 1 seed, and they found a way to come back in that game. So, I mean, there's not really a situation I've seen Baylor in. And I know Coach Drew and those guys gets guys prepared and all that stuff. I mean, I've seen them down 25 against North Carolina, came back. So there's not situations I've seen Baylor in that I'm not like, oh, this is like dire, But hopefully we don't have to get in those situations. But I know these guys are prepared. And the round of 32 games, I've said before, are harder. It's harder than the round of 64 game because you only have 1 day rest to prepare for a team. Round of 64, you had since Sunday to prepare. Since selection Sunday to prepare for this team. So, yeah, round of 32 games, it could be exciting. Hopefully we get to play either team I'm excited to play for, and it's going to be exciting for the Baylor Bears that we can get out of the round 32 and get to Sweet 16 for the first time in since the national tournament run.
Yeah, 2021. Looking forward to that. So big weekend ahead for the Baylor Bears, and it all gets underway tomorrow at 11:40. That'll do it for today's edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Obim Okeke, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Thursday, and Sick 'em Bears.